Great. So here we are. Welcome to the webinar, how you can get back in control of your time and get the important stuff done to grow your business. So firstly, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this webinar and to hear what I'm going to share with you now. Obviously, this is important enough for you to give up a chunk of your time to do this. So a couple of tips just to make sure you get the most from it right now. Firstly, I know it's difficult, but please try and turn off any other distractions that you've got going on. I know all too well how easy it is to think I'll just catch up on some emails or I'll just catch up on Facebook while you're listening to something like this. But trust me, you will not get the most from it, and you'll end up missing half at least of what I'm saying. So please, if you can, try and turn off any other distractions that you've got open right now. Now, my second tip is to take your own notes. So fingers crossed this recording is working okay and you'll get a copy of this sent out to you. But personally, I always think I absorb information better if I'm taking my own notes. So I'm just encouraging you to do the same. So go grab a pen, grab some paper, get comfy, get a drink, whatever you need. Get yourself prepared to absorb some information that's going to help you get back in control of your time and start to get all of that important stuff done that's going to grow your business. Are you ready? Let's begin. So firstly, a quick question for you. Do you feel right now that you are time starved, or do you feel that you have an abundance of time? You know, are you feeling like you're starting each day with good intentions, but somehow these just end up falling by the wayside as you end up reacting to everyone and everything that comes your way? And it can feel a bit like, you know, you're tearing your hair out, you've got a pile of paperwork on your desk, and you're spending each day walking through this stuff on the screen, treacle, sludging on slowly and slowly, but not feeling like you're getting anywhere very quickly. But let me ask you this different perspective, try and get a different perspective on it. What if you actually have all the time that you already need right now? What if you just need to figure out how to use it better? So that is what we're going to be tackling right now. And hopefully by the end of this session, we'll have you feeling a bit more like these pictures I've got on the screen that you could hopefully see right now, kicking back in your chair, punching triumphantly in the air and feeling a lot more chilled out and back in control of your time. So what I'm going to share with you in the following slides over the next few minutes, the next half an hour or so, are some tips and strategies that I take my own clients through in my 6 Steps to Business Growth model. So if you can see the screen I'm sharing right now, you'll see how that model works. And basically in step 4 is about focus. And that's all about managing yourself and managing your time more effectively. So there are some of the tips that I'm going to be sharing with you right now. And if there is anyone who would like to know more about this 6 Steps to Business Growth programs that I run, then I will be letting you know a bit further on how you can reach out to me to find out more if you want to. But trust me, there's loads of great stuff that I'm going to share that you can go and implement straight away regardless. So here's what we're going to be doing. Firstly, I'm going to be sharing with you the one tool that you're already going to have, but you're not using it properly. And it's going to help you to make sure you get that important stuff done each day. Secondly, I am going to be talking about to-do lists and sharing the real truth about them and how they're holding you back in some circumstances and what you should be using instead. And then thirdly, you will discover where your business is still operating in startup mode and how you can get the heck out of it and start moving into that growth phase. So hopefully that sounds good for you. Let me introduce myself very quickly. So my name is Alison Bradford, as I'm sure you know by now. So after many years working in the corporate world in organisations such as Vodafone and Swinton Insurance, I now run my own business coaching company, which I set up in June 2011. And the business owners that I'm working with now are typically, they're trying to do most things by themselves and they're struggling to find the time to do it all. So they know that something needs to change, but to be honest, they're too busy to take the time out to figure it all out on what they should be doing. So most of their time is spent in this very reactive mode, where you're responding to everyone else, your clients, your email inbox, your phone's ringing, and you are getting fed up of your business encroaching on your personal life and your personal time. So I show my clients either one-to-one or in a group program the simple steps that they need to go through in order to shift into being proactive and to grow their business, but without putting in more and more hours. Okay, so let's have a look at the first tool that is right at your fingertips probably now. And it's your diary. So I'm going to assume that you're already using a diary of some kind. And if you're not, then that's your first job, is to get straight out there and use one and get one. So it doesn't really matter. I mean, I've got a picture here of a paper diary, and to be honest, I like a paper diary. I like something I can feel and see the week to view. But I'm sure lots of you are using online diaries, which are in some ways much more efficient to use. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what kind of diary you use as long as you're using it properly, because your diary is the most important tool that you already have in terms of managing your time effectively. So I'm willing to bet that right now your diary is used primarily in a reactive way. Yeah, so you're reacting to requests from other people for meetings or appointments. Somebody asks you for something, then it goes in your diary. Now, I'm also willing to bet that these appointments that are going in your diary are pretty much always happening. Yeah? So whatever goes in there is pretty much guaranteed to happen. So how about if you were to use your diary in a more proactive way? What if you were to schedule in all those important jobs that will grow your business but aren't getting around to doing at the moment? What about scheduling in the time to work on your marketing plan, for example, or write some marketing content, or putting together that job description that you keep meaning to do for some jobs you need to outsource, or, those lovely processes and systems that you need to work on, but you're just never finding the time to do it. Those are the kinds of things that are going to grow your business. Those are the jobs that are working on your business, not in it. And those are exactly the kinds of things that you need to start putting in your diary to make sure they happen. Okay? So this is how you start to get the important stuff done. You simply schedule it in. You're already going to be doing that to some extent already, say with other people's in that probably reactive way. So just take control and start using your diary more proactively. Schedule in that time to work on achieving your business goals, to start delivering those projects you want to work on. For goodness sake, to schedule in time to think. If you need time to think, then put it in your diary. Now, a quick tip on using this effectively as well, because one of the things that I often talk about on my blog and with clients is about power hours. Now, if you're not familiar with a power hour is simply a nice name to putting aside some time that's about working on your business. Okay. Now, what I've seen time and time and time again is examples of where they work and where they don't work. And where they work and work the most effectively is by putting them in right at the start of the day. Before you open up your emails, before you start looking at the client work you need to get done, certainly before you open up Facebook or any other social media, put in an hour each day at the start, at the very beginning of your working day, to start working on those important jobs you need to do to grow your business. Okay? I can't stress that enough. And if you're sitting there thinking, oh, well, that's okay, but I really don't even have an hour each day at the moment, where the hell does she think I'm going to get that from? Then start where you are. If you really can't find an hour right now, then start with half an hour. Okay, if you could do half an hour 3 times a week, that's an hour and a half that you'll have spent getting the important things done to grow your business. If you can do 15 minutes, do 15 minutes, but for goodness sake, start doing something, schedule it in and make it happen. Okay, so that is part one, and that is looking at the tool that you've already got and how to start using your diary much more effectively to manage your time, okay? Because what I don't want to give you, I don't want to overwhelm you with loads of different gadgety new apps and things like that. Use what you've already got, but use it better. So let's have a look at to-do lists. So what are you? Do you love a list or do you hate a list? So people often ask me what are my thoughts on to-do lists and if I use them, and my answer is this. I do love lists. I'm a list person, and I think they can definitely add value and help you in managing your time and in getting things done. But, and here's the but, I also see them being used all the time in a way that is not helping and that is actually hindering and overwhelming the person doing it. Okay, so that's why I'm going to share with you the truth about how to-do lists are used in the wrong way, first of all. So let's have a look at some of the ways that they are used that are not helping you. Firstly, a dumping ground. So when they become just a space for you to dump anything and everything that's in your mind. So, you know, you wake up in the middle of the night thinking, oh, crikey, I need to buy cat food in the morning, write that on. Oh, my God, I need to start working on that big project over there. I'll put that on there. And they just become a dumping ground for anything and everything that's in your head. And they end up to be uncontrollable and, like the picture on the screen, the freaking never-ending to-do list. You know, of course, what happens when it is never-ending? It's overwhelming. You know, I see time and time again when I turn up to meet clients and they'll get out their to-do list and, you know, it's huge. You know, we've got an A4 sheet of paper divided into different sections for different things, and I feel overwhelmed just looking at it for them, so no wonder they feel overwhelmed. So if you're starting your day with a huge to-do list, your brain is straight away going to feel overwhelmed and think, crikey, where do I start? So that's another area where they don't help. They become overwhelming. The third truth about to-do lists is they become a task in itself. So if you're not careful, and again, this isn't that unusual, you are starting your day rewriting your to-do list out. Maybe you're doing some colours, colour coding, get some new sections, you're prioritising it, and it becomes a task in itself. To-do lists can work, but it's about giving you something that helps and supports you getting the right stuff done. And the fourth truth is they become non-value add. So they don't add value, it becomes a ticking exercise. So it becomes more of a pat on the back, making you feel good because you're ticking things off. Yeah? Have you ever written down, and I'll confess I've done this before, written down something on your to-do list that you've already done just so you can tick it off? Yeah? What is the point in that? Okay, it's not adding value to you. Don't bother, don't waste your time. But let's have a look at some of the things you could be doing instead. The rule of three is actually really important when it comes down to to-do lists. So when you are using your to-do list, what I really want to challenge you to do is limit it to preferably 3, but certainly no more than 5 things on there. I know that can be a challenge. If you've got a massive to-do list at the moment, you probably won't know where to start, but I'm going to show you next some of the things that can come off there, so that's okay. We'll make a start right now. But your challenge now is to get that to-do list down to preferably 3, no more than 5 things on there. There is a reason for that, and just psychology has shown that the brain does get overwhelmed with between 3 to 5 things is most of our limits. My limit is 3. Anything more than 3 starts to overwhelm me. You might be able to cope with 5. Now the trick to getting it down to that few things on your to-do lists is getting the tasks that you are putting on there at the right level. So what I mean by that is often people become far too detailed on their to-do lists, or what they'll have is a mix of really detailed, you know, go get milk, buy postage stamps, send email, and then they'll have some random, oh, think about that new business idea I've got. Yeah, so you've got this range of really detailed and really high level stuff, and what you need to do is get it to kind of somewhere in between, probably heading more towards the high level. So you need to get the things down on there that trigger your brain to know all the little things it needs to do. So for example, one of your tasks might be do my marketing plan. Yeah? So instead of writing down, oh, decide how I'm going to do it, list all the things I want to do, speak to so-and-so about a networking group, you don't need to put all those detailed things on there. The headline of complete my marketing plan is enough for your brain to know what the little steps are. I hope that makes sense. If you've got any questions at all about that in particular, then please email me to alison@alisonbradford.com, and I'll let you know towards the end how we can catch up and talk that through if you want to discuss that more. So let's have a look at what you can be doing instead of using your to-do list and the kinds of things that shouldn't be going on there. So number one is recurring tasks. So if you're doing the same thing on a repeated basis, whether that's daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, doesn't matter, then don't put them on your to-do list. They just need to happen all the time. Schedule them in, put them in your diary. That underused tool you've already got, put them in there. The second area that I am telling you or suggesting that you take off your to-do list is personal tasks. So I'd always keep them separate. That always seems to work better. So if you're currently mixing up and you've got one big generic to-do list for your business stuff and your personal stuff, then separate them. Seriously, I don't want to be looking at go and buy milk when I'm looking at doing my marketing plan. Keep it in a separate place. Now, the third area to take off your to-do list is those really high-level ideas. So, you're thinking, oh, that sounds like a good new service I might want to offer in the future. Let me put that down to think about that more. And it's so high-level and vague, you never actually get round to doing it. So what I recommend for those ideas, and you're probably having lots of ideas because you're probably a very creative thinker, is to get yourself a separate little book, an ideas book that is just for ideas. You jot them down in there with any thoughts that you've got. Then, because you need to spend time going back to explore them, what you need to do is book some time in your diary on a regular basis. Maybe once a month you book out an hour of your time to spend going through the ideas that have gone in your ideas book, figuring out if any of them need to become a project, as in something you want to actually make happen, and then you schedule in the time to actually make it happen. Okay? So any ideas, don't put them down on your to-do list, get a separate book and schedule in the time to keep reviewing those regularly. Okay, the fourth area to get off your to-do list is those really tiny short tasks. They all send email to so-and-so. Oh, I must ring this person back about that. Here's a new rule for you if you haven't got this one already. If it's going to take you 2 minutes or less to do, just do it. Don't write it down to do it later. Don't file it away. Just do it. Okay? So if it's going to take 2 minutes or less, do it there and then. Now the fifth area to take off your to-do list, this is what I was talking about with the rule of 3. It's those detailed bits and pieces. Yeah? Leave it out. Trust yourself that your brain knows all of those detailed bits and pieces that you need to get done. Don't worry about having everything to the nth detail on your to-do list. You just need to work on getting the right level of task on there to trigger your brain to know what the detail is. Okay? Trust yourself. And the sixth area to start taking off your to-do list is follow-ups. So again, it's that, oh, I've sent an email, I'm waiting for a reply, or yeah, I must call this person next week. Don't put it on your to-do list. That lovely diary that we've got, we're going to put it in there. Or if you've got a CRM, a customer relationship management system in place, then use that, put it in there. But don't put those down on your to-do list. There's stuff that needs to happen at a future time. You simply pop it in your diary system. Then at the time, you'll see it and you will have time to do it. So I hope again that makes sense. So I've given you there 6 areas of things that are probably sitting on your to-do list right now that need to come off and need to be managed in a different way. And my challenge to you again is to get that to-do list down to no more than 5 items. Okay, so that's to-do lists and the truth about those, where they can help you and where they can't, and what you should be using instead. Now let's have a look at our next part, which is about where you're in startup mode and how to get out of it and get into growth instead. So let's have a look at what happens. So you start up your business. You have loads of time, don't you, at the beginning when you're starting up. So you fill this time with lots of different activities that are mainly focused around getting new customers. That's your priority at startup. And you don't really need any systems or processes in place to deal with your customers because you've got the time to do everything afresh each time. But then you hit a point, and often it's without even realizing it, where you just don't have the time to be doing everything afresh every time you get a new customer. You're still focusing very often on getting more customers in, but you're still trying to deal with them all like they're your only customer and that you've got all the time in the world. And you obviously don't have all the time in the world, or you wouldn't be watching this right now. So here is what you need to do, and you need to systemize. And when I say systemize, I don't mean have an IT system or anything like that. It's about bringing in standardized processes, and it's about simplifying things for both your customers and yourself, and looking at what you can automate. Now, what happens is sometimes you can fall into the trap of thinking this very personal and bespoke service you're offering to your customers is a benefit. But what has very often happened is it's a bit ad hoc, and it becomes inconsistent. And it can be each customer gets a slightly different message depending on what you happen to be doing when they get in touch with you, you know? So if a customer order comes through maybe on a first thing on a Monday morning, they might get one response. If it comes through on a Saturday evening, they might get a completely different response. So what we need to do in your business is you need to put in systems to standardize things. Okay. And you might be thinking, well, where do I start? Where do I start? I don't know where to start with this. So what I suggest is a good starting point is looking at the things that irritate you and frustrate you right now. So if you've got things you're doing that are just irritating you and frustrating you, that suggests that there's room to systemize it in some way and standardize it. Let's get into having a look at some specific areas in your business that might help you to identify where you can put systems in place to save you time, to simplify things for you, but also for your customers. Yeah? Because it is important to know your customers are obviously the heart of your business, and if you think that you're offering this very bespoke service as a plus, it very often isn't, because what your customers will want from you is a clear expectation of what you're going to deliver. They want clear communication, and then they want you to deliver on that. So as long as you're setting that out clearly, they are going to be happy and you're meeting it. Okay? So your business is basically just one big system made up of smaller systems. And how I like to break it down is looking at splitting your business into those 4 key areas that you'd have in any business, however small or large. So you've got your clients, your customer service area, your team for customer service. And I know that this may well be you doing all of these different hats at the moment. That's okay. You've got your marketing department, you've got your financials department, and you've got your team area, which is like your HR. So let's have a look at our clients and see what are the things where we're dealing with our clients that we can systemize. And it is simply thinking of things like when a new client comes on board, what is the information they need to know from me? Am I typing that out every time into a different email, or do I have a template that I can just copy and paste and fill in the variables and send out? Am I sending out contracts for each new client if they're applicable? Do I have something to send out that sets out, this is what I'm going to do and this is what I expect from you? Okay. How do your clients communicate with you? What's the process in place for that? Have you told them? Or do you just accept any old way they want? You know, have you got some people ringing you, some people emailing you in the evenings? Let them know how to communicate with you, put a process in place, and then do it. Okay, your marketing department. So you're probably doing a mix of online and offline, depending on your business model at the moment. But think about how you're doing that and how you can systemize it to make it smoother for you. You know, so for example, online marketing, you know, you can do, there's loads of great scheduling tools you can use if you're doing a lot of social media marketing. You can have a set time in the week where you sit down and write all your scheduled posts for the month or for the week. You know, I mean, and social media is such a massive time thief for so many people. So that's one of those areas you really have got to be super disciplined about your time spent on there. So having a set time when you can go and do your marketing, and then maybe you have, you know, set times during each day where you go and interact and respond to any questions that have come in. Your offline marketing, you know, I do quite a bit of networking and meet a lot of people that are doing a lot of networking face to face. And one of the challenges is very often about meeting up with people outside of the meetings and having these one-to-ones. You know, and sometimes it can feel like, oh gosh, I'm spending all this time backwards and forwards, and it's not necessarily bringing money into the business. So, you know, a great tip if you're doing that is to only ever offer those meetings on either side of the networking meeting. So you're not traveling backwards and forwards and you're batching them together. Your finance department, you know, what systems need to go in place in there? That's another great example I see of, you know, people doing invoicing randomly when they feel like it, when they remember, which is sometimes months later after the work's been done. You know, your expenses, do you sit down at the end of when you're doing your tax return and then look back at your expenses for the year? How would it be if you had a system in place that meant it was being done on a regular basis, consistently? So you didn't feel like you'd got this massive, overwhelming task, you know, once a year or every so often. You know, your invoicing should be done at set times. That sets your customer expectations as well. Your expenses, you know, there's loads of great little tools you can get to help systemize that, apps on your phone to scan receipts in and all sorts. And credit control is a key one as well. If you don't have a credit control process, then please do one straight after this this webinar. You've watched this, because you know you need to have a clearly defined payment term in place. When you send your invoice out, do your customers know how long they've got to pay? Do you know how long they've got to pay? What do you do if they don't pay on time? How are you following that up? Okay, because I see lots of businesses that end up in huge cash flow difficulties. They're so busy, they've got plenty of clients, but they've got cash flow difficulties purely because they're not managing their credit control. Okay, let's have a look at your team finally. So, you know, and you may be working alone at the moment, but you've probably got some other people that you are working with in some capacity, whether that's on an employed basis or on an outsourced basis. How are you communicating with them? How are you checking the quality of the work they're doing for you? How are you tracking things have been done on time? How are you sharing work with them? So there's loads of great tools, but again, it's about systemizing it. And when I say system, that could be as simple, if you've got a team of people, of setting out a communication process to say, hey, this is how we're going to communicate. We're going to have a weekly, quick 10-15 minutes group conference call to talk about what we've got on and any challenges we've got. That's a system. It then stops all those random emails and calls throughout the week because people know they've got a set time when they can bring their challenges up. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. Again, please, you know, any questions that you've got, then please email them to me, alison@alison.bradford. And also, really, before I share, I'm going to give you an extra step. So I know I said this would be our third area, but there is an extra step I'm going to give you in a moment about how you can get back in control of your time. But before I do that, I did say before I'd let you know how you can reach out to me if you're curious to know how I can help you with perhaps implementing what we've gone through today, but also maybe there's other areas of the 6 steps to business growth model that you may be interested in knowing more about. So what I'd like to invite you to do is to book in a focus session with me. So this is a completely complimentary, that, you know, these are complimentary sessions that I'm offering to you for watching this webinar. So you get a half-hour call with me where we can go through how you can implement what you've gone through today and work out a plan for your next steps, and then potentially see how I might be able to help you further in your business. So to book in one of these free focus sessions, all you need to do is go to my online diary, which is at www.meetme.so/Alison Bradford. So now let me give you a quick bonus step before we finish of how you can get back in control of your time. And it is, if you feel like this, falling asleep on a pile of folders on your desk, it's about getting enough sleep. So let me tell you a very quick story of a client that before I started working with them, they had a challenge around their productivity and getting everything done. And one of their strategies that they were researching very seriously to get more done, because they thought if I can just get some extra hours, I'll get more done. So they were researching how they can survive on less sleep a night in order to find some extra time. I think they were very close to losing the plot at that point. It's okay. I got them through it. They're okay now. But so much research has been done in this area to show that our productivity is very linked and highly correlated with the amount of sleep that we get. Now, we're all different. We're all individual in terms of the amount of sleep that we need, and people bandy around 8 hours. Some people seem to be fine on 5. You know, personally, I like to get 9 hours sleep a night if I can. So what I'm asking you is, how much sleep do you know that you need in order to wake up in the morning feeling full of energy? Or maybe not full of energy, but, you know, ready to get out of bed. So you know how much sleep you need. And you probably know what time you need to be getting up in the morning, or unfortunately in my house it's when my kids decide to wake me up, but that tends to be the same time each day, so I can just simply then work back and figure out what time I need to be going to bed. And you know, sometimes that means missing some of the stuff that's on TV, which is probably pretty rubbish at the late evening in any case. So get enough sleep, work out how much you need, and simply go to bed earlier if you need to. So one quick final thought before I leave you to go and start implementing what we've talked about today. And that is about, please strive for progress, not perfection. And I love this quote from Jim Rohn, and this is really about taking back control now of your time, because either you run the day or the day runs you. So now you have hopefully all the tips and strategies and equipment you need to go and start taking back control and running your own days, and stop letting the days run you. Thank you so much for joining me and for watching this webinar. I hope you found it useful. Again, please email me with any thoughts, comments, questions to alison@alisonbradford.com. And don't forget, please go and book in your complimentary focus call with me at www.meetme.so/Alison Bradford. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a great day.